What's up, everybody? Welcome to tonight's episode of the Not Your Average Mark Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, the Tutorial Boss Guapo. With me is a very special guest host, the one, the only, the GOAT, John Cena. John, how are you doing? Welcome to the show. Glad you could be here tonight. I'm going to need you to scoot over to my show. How's everybody doing tonight? As you can see, I'm by my onesies for now. Might have somebody jumping in just a little bit later, but for now, it's just me, you, and the wrestling world. So let's start it off with some thank yous. Of course, I want to thank Ross and the boys from Labor 12 for their intro, outro music. Track's called Head Rush, album's called Monsters. If you haven't heard it yet, like it's been 3 years, what are you waiting on? Like, seriously. Go check the album out. They are actually working on their second album. Got all sorts of cool stuff going on. You can find out all about it, labor12.com. That's laborxii.com. Thank you to Joseph and American Legacy for our Not Your Average merch. We got the hats, the bandanas, the skull caps, all the fun stuff. Thank you to JReb's 3D printing. You see this little piece of awesome right here? That is a JReb original. If you have a logo, something you want to see in a light box like this, then check him out, jrebs3dprinting.com. My boy Cameron gets you taken care of. Thank you to HeckYeahRadio.com for having the Not Your Average Mark button on their website. If you happen to miss the live podcasts, shame on you. And I'm sending several short people to your house to bite your ankles. But if it happens, I suppose that's going to happen from time to time. You can catch an audio version of the podcast by clicking on the Not Your Average Mark button at HeckYeahRadio.com. Thank you to Blind Ambition Studios for all our awesome graphics. Thank you to the WrestlingSociety.com for including us in their podcast room. And of course, thank you so much to the guy that puts it all together, the guy himself, Patrick. Thank you for what you do. Appreciate it all. If you want a little preview of what it is that Patrick does around here, check out the website, www.notyouraverage.mark.com. We've got our merch there. We've got bios there on all of us. We've got all sorts of cool stuff there, so check that out. And our newest and coolest thing, of course, is our Discord. If you're not a member yet, go to any of our socials and go to the About section. You can find our Discord link. You answer a couple of questions, you're in just like that. We do watch-alongs for Raw and SmackDown and PLEs. We've done a watch-along for NXT. We've done a watch-along for the Clown Show, just to say we did a watch-along for the Clown Show. It's a good time. We talk about wrestling. We talk about the shows. I love every minute of it. I hope you guys will join us. Looking over at the chat, J-Reb's in. What's up, Cameron? Glad you're here today. Aaron's here. Aaron Marie, thank you for joining us. Heck Yeah Radio is currently down at the moment, thanks to the LZ administration, because of course the LZ administration did it because, well, you know what? I'm not even going to get into that. I'm not even going to get into it. All right, I might get into it later, but I'm not going to get into it right now. Stay out of this, Cena. You don't know what you're talking about. So let's talk about some wrestling, shall we? This is a wrestling podcast after all. Let's get into some main roster moments. We'll start with SmackDown. Nick Aldis says that the match coming up between Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu is going to be a #1 contenders match for Cody's title, which is interesting. Last week, of course, I enjoy the way they did this, okay? They, instead of just having them jump each other backstage, they had something going on and showed them fight through the scene, which is awesome. Aaron, if you have to, I understand, but I do appreciate you being here. Have them fight through the scene instead of making that the scene. And due to all their fighting with each other, their match on Friday Night SmackDown is going to be a #1 contenders match. After this, Cody, of course, talks about his loss to Seth at Crown Jewel and says that Seth split himself to the bone. That's a direct quote. To beat him, and tells the crowd he's going to sit back and watch the Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu match just like everyone else. Now, the question is, was Cody kind of hinting at the fact that Seth's going to be out for a while, as he did injure his shoulder doing the coast to coast during their match at Crown Jewel, which was an absolute banger, by the way. I don't know that that's the case, but I mean, it's definitely a possibility. Next, we get Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, our women's tag team champions, up against Sol Ruca and Zarya. Now, you know as well as I do, I'm happy anytime I can see Sol Ruca on the main roster because I feel like she's needed to be there for a minute. Uh, see, that's another thing that's being said. J-Reb, quick on it. Did he injure his shoulder like he injured his leg? No, he legit had surgery on his shoulder. Like he jacked it up. He's going to be out for a minute. From what I understand, he pretty much obliterated his rotator cuff. So he's going to be out for a while. Sol Ruca and Zarya, they've needed to be main roster. And I'm so glad to see them getting opportunities like this. It was a great match. Of course it was a great match. Look at the talent you have in the ring. You've got Charlotte Flair. You've got Alexa Bliss, Sol Ruca, Zarya. Of course it was a great match. Unfortunately, Sol Ruca would have to be helped to the back with an apparent knee injury. This is actually going to keep her out of Halloween Havoc, where she was supposed to go against Blake Monroe for the women's North American title. But I will say, having Blake Monroe ringside to further that story before the knee injury, of course, having her ringside to further that story while also having them battling for the tag team championship, like that's just smart booking. And kudos to the booking team for that because that was pretty awesome. From there, we go into the United States Championship Open Challenge. Sami Zayn, of course, putting it out there. You want some, come and get some. Taking after my co-host for the night, John Cena. Thank you for allowing Sami Zayn to carry that mantle forward into the future. Nobody asked you. It's my show. Stay quiet. Sami Zayn is ready to go. Out comes The Miz, and we get to see the receipt. So I don't remember if it was last week or the week before. Carmelo Hayes comes out and he's gonna do the thing, and Miz just drops him. And we got to see that receipt in this match. Miz tries to go out to enter the open challenge, and Carmelo Hayes puts him on the ground. Says, "Nope, ain't happening." So out comes Ilya Dragunov, and I, for one, could not be happier about this. I've always been a fan of his wrestling style, and after a year on the shelf, this seems like the perfect time to bring him back. There's great back and forth here, and these two in particular have great chemistry. Like one of the things I've read regarding this match is that this has televised match of the year written all over it. Like they had an amazing match. They get the back and forth. Solo comes out, Solo Sikoa, because why not, right? He interferes, and this allows Ilya to hit the H-bomb for the win, and your new United States champion, Ilya Dragunov. Didn't get to celebrate very long, though, because here come the MFTs, and they attack Sami, and they attack Ilya Dragunov, and Rey Fenix comes out, and he tries to help, and he gets beat down. So you've got the MFTs standing tall in the ring. The bad guys are standing tall, and that's never a good thing. So what do? When a group of bad guys is standing tall, you have Bo Dallas come on the screen. You have Uncle Howdy show up and give his cryptic message, and when it's all said and done, you've got the Wyatt Six all around the ring. That's enough to make you nervous, just a little bit, a little bit. All in all, that was a great match. I would dare to say match of the night right there with Sami and Ilya Dragunov. It was so good. Motor City Machine Guns versus Los Garzas. So this gets set up because of an argument backstage. And you get a great tag match because anytime you have these two teams in the ring, that's what you're going to get. The Motor City Machine Guns are good. Los Garzas are good. The Machine Guns end up winning this one. But what gets me here, like the part of this I didn't understand, is that the commentary spent all sorts of time hyping up Los Garzas, talking about their accomplishments in and out of the ring, talking about their success at AAA, talking about what they're doing here, what they're doing there. Like they spent the majority of the match saying all these great things about Los Garzas for them to lose. Just kind of weird in my opinion. It's like a weird setup there. Like I don't understand why it wasn't kind of 50-50 on that as far as talking about the teams. But you know what? They do what they do. That moves us to our next little segment, and someone maybe it's you, Mr. Cena. Somebody needs to verify where Rikishi was. I say this because we got a backstage scene of Jacob Fatu laid out in the floor with blood and what looked like maybe some teeth laying on the ground. I mean, he did it for The Rock. I'm saying it's got that written all over it. Needless to say, he was unable to compete in his match with Drew McIntyre. Cody Rhodes comes out, accuses Drew McIntyre, says, "You did this." Drew says, "I didn't do this." Cody says, "You did this." And Drew says, "I didn't do this." Cody very, very upset. Says, "You want a shot at my title tonight? You got one." And Drew controlled the majority of this match. Like he beat the hell out of Cody, which was kind of a pleasant surprise to see because normally, you get the usual, this thing happened, the bad guy's in the ring, Cody comes out, Cody starts to get beat down, Cody fights back, Cody wins the match, Crossroads, adrenaline in your soul, something, Cody Rhodes. That's what you get. That was not the case this time because as Drew was controlling most of this match, it spilled out to the floor and Cody hits him with the belt and gets himself disqualified. Not something I'm used to seeing from the American Nightmare. So I'm wondering what direction they're trying to take this right now. All in all, it was a decent SmackDown. I give it a B. My first thought was B-, maybe a C, just because there wasn't a whole lot of action going on in this one. But I do have to take into consideration that they had a run in Japan. The WWE did. So a lot of the SmackDown talent wasn't there. So they did a good job with what they had. So I give them a solid B. I will say, just kind of pulling the curtain back here, I'm going to give some curtain pulling spoilers here. If you don't want to hear them, close your ears. Jacob Fatu is supposed to have a match with Drew McIntyre, unable to do so because he legitimately had oral surgery and his oral surgeon did not clear him to wrestle. So that's why we did not have the Drew McIntyre Jacob Fatu match. That was the reason for the teeth on the ground. So if you didn't know, now you know. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I think it was a great SmackDown. Not the best SmackDown I've seen all year, but definitely not the worst either. So like I said, solid B for it. That takes us into Raw. Before we do go into Raw, want to remind you, if you haven't already done it, click all the things. Go to the socials, click the bells, the whistles, the likes, the subscribes, the all the things. Click all the things. It gives us an idea of what you're looking at. It gives us an idea of what you like, what you don't like, what we can do better. And it gives us an idea of who's out there, helps us out in the algorithm, does all sorts of good stuff. So if you haven't done it already, go to all the socials, click all the things. Thank you so very much. That's going to take us into Raw. So the opening segment for Raw, we need to talk about that for a minute because I think it was absolutely great. You start off with my personal hero, Adam Pearce, standing in the ring. And he gets ready to talk. And of course, because Adam Pearce is standing in the ring, out comes the Vision. Paul Heyman, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, they make their way to the ring. Braun Breaker with the belt, Seth's belt at the moment, on his shoulder. And I've got to admit, it looks fairly natural sitting on his shoulder. They come to the ring and Adam Pearce says, "You know what? I'm glad you're here. You need to hear this. Because of what you did to what was already an injured Seth Rollins, then Seth Rollins had to have surgery. And so Seth Rollins is not going to be able to wrestle. And you did this. You did this. And since you did that, I have to strip Seth Rollins of the title." Which is not something he wanted to do, but something that had to happen anyway. All right, I see that we've got chat coming in, but it's not popping up in my chat. Like I can see part of it, but not all of it. If there's something you can do about that, the guy, that would be great because I can't see what J-Rev just said. But yeah, he made the announcement that Seth had to have surgery and made the announcement that he is stripping him of the title. However, because the title is vacant, CM Punk has already earned a chance at the belt because he won the number one contenders triple threat. So to find out who his opponent is going to be tonight on Raw, we're going to have an over-the-top rope battle royal, which I think is pretty freaking cool. Hold on, let me see if I can fix this chat mess here because it is not coming up. Ah, there we go. Now I can see it. Put my notes back up here. What did you say you were going to call them eventually? All right, so look, before we go any further talking about this, I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen. This is what I think is going to happen in the future. You heard it here first. Mark your calendars. I feel like before it's all said and done, Brock Lesnar is going to join the Vision. And at that point, I am not going to call them the Vision anymore. I'm not going to call them the Bronze. I'm not going to call them the Killer Bees. I'm going to call them the Bros. Like, who's that team? That's Bruh. Because you got Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker and Brock Lesnar. So they're the Bros. They're going to be the Bros. You know what helps sometimes is if the guy could throw up some match stills when you're going over the matches. He has plenty of free time to pull it. Yeah, all the free time. I don't know what the copyright rules are for still photos. We'd have to check into that, but it's a good suggestion, J-Reb, and I appreciate that. We'll see what we can do about that. We've got some rules we got to look into on that. But going back to the opening to Raw, Adam Pearce says, all of that being said, I'm going to need the belt. And he says, damn it, J-Reb. Adam Pearce says, I'm going to need the belt. And Braun Breaker says, ask me nicely. And Adam Pearce says, respectfully, I'm going to need that belt. And Braun Breaker says, say please. And Adam Pearce says, respectfully, I'm going to need that belt. Please. Which he gives it to him. He says, see, was that so hard? Gives him the belt. Adam Pearce takes the belt, leaves. Not a happy man, that guy. I believe he was probably saying his usual line of, I need a drink. Then Paul Heyman gets the mic and he says, you know what? I didn't betray Roman Reigns. I didn't betray my best friend, CM Punk, to side with Seth Rollins. It was because I knew that Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed are the future. And that Seth Rollins is not a visionary. Seth Rollins is not a revolutionary. Seth Rollins is a bum shoulder bitch. That is exactly what he said. A bum shoulder bitch. And after all the boos that Seth Rollins has been receiving as of late, Paul Heyman got booed for calling him that. It's a fickle world out there in the wrestling community. J-Reb saying big words when Seth isn't around. Very true. Very true. Them's big words when Seth ain't there. Paul Heyman then proceeds to say, oh, by the way, welcome to Monday Night Raw. And drops the mic and takes off. That brings us to our very first match. AJ Styles and Dragon Lee versus Finn Balor and JD McDonough for the Tag Team Championships. Of course, the Judgment Day is our Tag Team Champs, and this was a great match. On a night of championship matches, this was a great one. Both teams shined in this one. And I'm going to tell you now, JD McDonough, the living crash test dummy that he is slowly but surely winning me over. Like, I don't much care for him, but slowly but surely, more and more I see him wrestle, the more and more I'm liking it. I just saw a whole bunch of stuff pop up on chat. Let me look. For still images on Twitch, the general rule is you must have permission to use any image that you did not create yourself. Like other platforms, Twitch follows U.S. Digital Millennium Copyright Act and terminates the accounts of repeat infringers. That's from Google. GTS, Google that stuff. JD McDonough did a lot in this, including it looks like AJ Styles is fixing to get the pin. Got the 1, 2, and like 0.999. And here comes a flying JD McDonough to break up the pin. Like the timing on it was perfect. In the end, we get Finn Balor trying to end the match by doing a Styles Clash on AJ Styles. Nobody does a Styles Clash on AJ Styles. He should know better than that. AJ Styles reverses it and hits Finn Balor with the Styles Clash. 1, 2, 3. AJ and Dragon Lee are your new tag team champions. I am happy for them. I think that's a cool team. They cannot be called AJ Lee. I don't care if it is AJ Styles and Dragon Lee because there's already one of those. So I guess we're going to call them Dragon Styles. Styles Dragon, Dragon Styles. I like Dragon Styles. We're going to go with that. So Dragon Styles are your new tag team champions. We go from one title match to the next title match. As we get Dominic Mysterio versus Rusev for the Intercontinental Championship. And you want to talk about people that are slowly starting to win me over? Dominic Mysterio, when you stop and look at it, you get match after great match after great match after great match from Dominic Mysterio. He's entertaining. He is so much of a heel. He's so unlikable that he makes a beloved heel. So he, slowly but surely, he's going to win me over too. This match was not an exception from the list of great matches he's been having. Rusev had the power and brute force through this match. We knew that was going to happen. However, Dominic Mysterio with the smarts, and after trying to use a ring bell yet again, Aaron Marie, he's a cheat. He is a cheater. That's true. He is a cheater. Takes after his Uncle Daddy Eddie. Yeah, I said it. Lie, cheat, and steal. J-Reb saying as much as I want to knock his teeth in, he is really entertaining. He is, and he tried to do the same thing he did to Penta, putting the hammer for the ring bell in his boot. Tries to hit the 619. Rusev says, "Oh no, I don't think so, sir." Reaches in his boot, pulls the hammer out. Says, "You were going to try to hit me with the hammer?" And he rears way back like this, and the referee takes the hammer away from him, which spins Rusev around, and he's like, rah, 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 saying something in Bulgarian. And Dominic takes this particular moment to kick him in the McNuggets, which had to have been uncomfortable. This allows Dom to hit the push him over, hit the 619. He hits the frog splash, 1, 2, 3. Dominic Mysterio is still your Intercontinental Champion. Now, while he was out of the ring, before he got the hammer for the ring bell, he decided he had enough. He's going to grab his belt, and he's outie Girl Scouty until he turns around to leave, and Penta's standing right there. What happens? Rusev grabs him and throws Dom into Penta. So at the end of this match, Rusev's in the ring not happy at all. I'm not sure exactly what he said. I don't speak Bulgarian, but I'm pretty sure he said something bad about Dom's mom. And Penta comes in and just drops him. And Rusev rolls out of the ring, and we get a stare down between Penta and Dominic Mysterio. So we know that's going to keep going. So I like where the storyline's going. I like what they're doing with Dom. As much of a pain in the ass, cheating jackass that he is, he's starting to win me over. And he's winning the crowd over. There were more chants for Dominic than there ever were for Rusev. And, I mean, they got the dirty, dirty Dom chant. Just all these chants. And you may think to yourself, we had a tag team champion match. We had an Intercontinental Championship match. That's got to be it, right? No, that's not it, because now we're going into the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Maxine Dupree, welcome to the show. I am so impressed with this. Of course, the match, Maxine Dupree versus Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Maxine Dupree absolutely killed it in this match in front of her hometown. They were in Sacktown, and that's where Maxine Dupree is from, and she absolutely killed it. I was so impressed by her. She gave Becky everything Becky could handle and then some. She had an answer for everything. You could not keep her down. And she gave the man, the women's IC champ, so much, in fact, that Becky got disqualified for hitting Maxine in the face with the belt. Now, Becky gets to keep her IC title because she was disqualified. However, that is not one, but 2 W's in the books for Maxine Dupree over Becky Lynch. So I'm interested to see where that goes. Are they going to set it up as a no DQ match? At some point, that match is going to happen again. We're going to get a third one for sure. This brings us, you know what? Before I get too far into that, I have to go back for just a second to the Dominic Mysterio versus Rusev. There's not a lot of things that commentators say that stick with me, but nothing will ever be funnier to me. Nothing will make me pop the way I did and laugh harder than hearing Joe Tessitore say the phrase man parts and onions fried after watching Rusev get kicked in the nuts. That was the funniest stuff ever in life. Man parts, onions fried. I don't believe I've ever heard in the wrestling world it referred to quite that way. So surely that is all the title matches we're going to have for the night. That would be incorrect because Stephanie Vaquer is having a match with, well, I guess it is the only one. Stephanie Vaquer, Roxanne Perez. If Roxanne Perez wins this match, she gets a shot at the belt. This was a killer match. Like, I enjoyed every minute of this. Stephanie Vaquer, Roxanne Perez, they already have great chemistry, and this match showed that. Of course, there was a couple of interferences by Raquel Rodriguez, and we kind of knew that was going to happen, I think. In the end, though, La Primera got the win, but also got the beatdown from both Roxanne and Raquel afterwards. And who comes out to make the save? Nikki Bella. Nikki Bella comes out and makes the save. Afterwards, we get a backstage talk between Stephanie Vaquer and Nikki Bella saying, look, I got your back. And Stephanie's like, you got my back, I got your back. And she's like, good, because I think I just made a couple of enemies. So if you could watch my back, because I don't want to beat me up. Patrick saying, all I heard was Cheeseburger Eddie saying, you got to protect the McNuggets, son. I hear it. I do. So we go back to another segment with my personal hero, Adam Pearce. And he said, we get Paul Heyman standing outside his door waiting, and Pearce opens the door and says, what took you so long? I waited like 45 minutes. And Paul looks a little confused. He says, you know what? I had to change a graphic. I had to have the production team change a graphic. And Paul says, so do you understand the week I've had, blah, 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 blah. He says, no, I had to have the graphic changed for the Battle Royal tonight because it had Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed in it. And Paul just gave him a look like, what? He said, yeah, they were on the graphic, and as of right now, they are no longer in that match. And Heyman looked at him and said, let me guess, you want me to put them back in the match? And Paul's like, yeah. You want me to make sure that they stay on the graphic? He's like, yeah. Adam Pearce rips his glasses off, gets right in Paul Heyman's face and says, say please. I was like, yeah, get him. Of course, Paul Heyman says, Mr. Pearce, sir, if you could please find it in your discretion to consider placing Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker back in the match, I would very much appreciate that. Please, sir. And Adam Pearce looks at him and says, "See, was that so hard?" He says, "No, it is actually quite pleasurable. Thank you. So, thank you for the opportunity to ask you for that." And Adam Pearce looks at him and says, "Okay, no," and slams the door. So Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed will not be in this match in the Battle Royal. Looking over the chat, J-Reb saying, "I'm going to say that the women's talent right now is peak. Loads better than current male talent, in my opinion." I can't disagree. I can't disagree at all. The women's division in all aspects of WWE, whether that be Raw, SmackDown, NXT, even going as far as to say TNA, is just absolutely amazing. So I agree with you on that, Cameron. All right, that takes us to our main event. Battle Royal, over the top rope. So here are your people in Battle Royal. Rusev, Ivar, that's a big dude. Grayson Waller, Kofi Kingston, Dominic Mysterio, Finn Balor, JD McDonough, Akira Tozawa, Otis El Grande Americano, Penta, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, LA Knight, AJ Styles, Dragon Lee, and Sheamus. Sheamus hasn't been seen since, I don't remember what the last match he was seen at, but it's been a minute. Aaron Marie saying women's have spiked, men's have dropped. I mean, that's fair. It has viewership in those matches have done exactly that. We get a good match out of this. The Battle Royal is a lot of fun. We get to see some good standoffs. We get to see some funny stuff going on. One of the big things that I enjoyed seeing was we got to see Rusev and Ivar square off. And that's two big old boys. And then Otis and Ivar squared off. And Rusev actually eliminates Otis, throwing him over the top rope. And that is not an easy thing to do. I'm pretty sure Otis weighs close to 400 pounds. Maybe more. That's a big old boy. So to pick him up and throw him over the top rope is hard to do. We had one point at which Dominic Mysterio was eliminated, but the ref didn't see it. Finn Balor and JD McDonough were eliminated by Sheamus, who they came back and grabbed Sheamus and pulled him out. So they're fighting all the way to the back. The ref's paying attention to that. So the ref never saw Dominic get out. And so Dominic had to come back in. And apparently that's legal. Dark Side Link, what's up, brother? Glad you could make it in. When it comes down to it, we've got Dominic Mysterio, we've got Jimmy Uso, we've got Jey Uso, we've got LA Knight. Jimmy and LA Knight go at each other and end up trying to hold on for dear life as they kind of tumble over a little bit over the top rope. And Jey comes by and knocks them both out, which pisses his brother off. Jimmy is not happy. Dominic hits Jey. Jey goes down. Dominic's running in for the 619. Jey grabs him and launches him. Like, it was ugly the way he landed. But your winner of the Battle Royal is main event Jey Uso, and it will be main event Jey Uso versus CM Punk at Saturday night's main event, November 1st. And that's what we end the show with, is CM Punk and main event Jey Uso, forehead to forehead, talking shit to each other. All in all, solid Raw. Like, I like that we had so many title matches in it. A+ showing as far as I'm concerned. Now we get to some of the fun stuff. Wrestling Talk Wednesday. I'm kind of flying through all of this, so we may end up ending the show a little early. Wrestling Talk Wednesday, the question was, amid all the talk about it, you hear every time John Cena is brought up, he is the greatest of all time. He is the GOAT. You've heard Paul Heyman be called the GOAT because of everything he's done. You've heard Triple H be called the GOAT. So the question was, who is the GOAT? Who is the GOAT of professional wrestling and why? And I got some pretty decent answers. I, of course, do want to catch any answers I can from the chat. If you have an opinion, I want to hear it. Who is the GOAT? But as I'm waiting on those, I'll go ahead and throw out what I've got here. Of course, one of the answers that's thrown out was, in fact, my guest tonight, John Cena. And for valid reason. I mean, he has done it all. Without question, he has been out there and done it all. John Cena definitely stands to be considered for that position of GOAT. Darkside Link saying Stone Cold Steve Austin. All right, Darkside, I can't say I disagree with you, but I need the why. Why is Stone Cold the GOAT? And while you bring that to me, I'll go on to the next one. Damian Blood sending in that CM Punk, absolutely the GOAT. There's a reason he's called the best in the world. And that's because he's done it all over the world. So definitely a valid pick. Mr. LZ sent in his pick as well, and I went back and forth over whether or not to even include this, but he makes a fair point, so I'm going to. His pick was Ric Flair. Ric Flair, as a matter of fact, let me pull this up because I want to make sure I get it correct, because he does make a valid point. All right. Ric Flair, because he checks more boxes over a longer range of time than anyone else. Draw, work, promo, and in what is undoubtedly the hardest period in history for travel and physicality due to the business being protected. Flair was a top draw from 82 as a traveling NWA champion until 88. Even though that was only 6 years, he had more matches against more opponents, almost always 45 minutes to an hour, than any other champion in the same period of time. Conversely, the champions of later periods who were solely draws in their company only because the territory system had ended fought shorter bouts with less travel and fewer opponents. Flair also is almost always the answer to the question for who inspired you. For anyone who was the top guy in the largest drawing period in history, which was the Attitude Era, including Austin, Rock, Triple H, and Taker. His reach outside of wrestling as it pertains to entertainers, sports stars, and the like, through the strut, through people doing the woo, and the promo copies is heard more referenced than anyone else. He also had one of the longest periods of straight activity without injury while working a harder schedule than anyone else of the day. While I don't agree with very much that Mr. Rick Elzy has to say, I don't disagree with his thought process for picking Ric Flair. Those are all very valid points. Triple H was brought up as well. I tend to lean towards Triple H myself. My reasoning for that is not just what he did inside the ring, but outside the ring. Of course, inside the ring, he had his character and, Triple H, DX, the whole thing. The whole run was awesome, but more so what he did outside of the ring. He, he put together the Black and Gold NXT. He took over as Chief Operations Officer for WWE. He's helped in taking everything global. Like everything he's put together has been great inside and outside the ring. So I lean towards Triple H, Mr. Paul Levesque, as the GOAT. I'm looking over here. Cameron says, mine would be Hogan. Politics aside, he changed the game and pushed it to where it is now. We would not have a Stone Cold, Taker, Cena, etc. without him. And you are not wrong. Hulk Hogan brought wrestling mainstream, without question. Hulkamania, what you gonna do, all that kind of stuff. Wrestling would not be what it is today, would not be as popular as it is today without Hulk Hogan. So I agree with that as well. Little Guapo chiming in with Shawn Michaels. Everything he's done in the ring and then moving into the admin positions that he has, very, very similar to the thoughts with Triple H. He's had the 5-star matches. He's had all of that go on. Chris Williamson, Jello, says Chris Jericho. And I kind of wish Jello was in the chat right now because I'd like to know why he picked Chris Jericho. Don't get me wrong, Chris Jericho, great wrestler, awesome mic guy, help jump in and start a company. Like, Jericho's awesome. don't know if I put him in for the GOAT. Paul Heyman is another one that I would absolutely put in the running for being the GOAT. Why, you ask? I think it's going from being Paulie Dangerously and making the Dangerous Alliance back in the day with WCW, and then moving to ECW and doing everything he did with ECW, and then moving to WWE and doing everything he's done on camera and off camera for people in WWE. Like, I think Paul Heyman has to be in that conversation. Aaron, you did put yours on the page, and you had like 6 of them on either one. But very valid points you made in there with Stone Cold, The Rock. Let me look. I gotta remember what all you put down. See, it's hard to figure somebody's a GOAT if you put down like a whole bunch of them. But it's at the same time, it's hard to figure out how to separate that out. Like, I get that too. Let me see here. Sorry, it's taking me just a minute to find this. But there are, and I'm looking over here, and Patrick's saying, I say Vince McMahon because wrestling wouldn't be a thing without him, like, at all, no matter the guy's faults. He started it all. Vince McMahon didn't start it all, but he damn sure took it nationwide. He happened to be in just the right place at just the right time and bought the company from his father at just the right time to separate out away from the territories and make it a national product. And for that, you're absolutely right in the fact that wrestling, what wrestling is today, the sports entertainment aspect of wrestling would not. I don't think the term sports entertainment would be a thing without Vince McMahon. I think the guy's a complete piece of shit person, but you make a valid point there. And he's a business genius. Do you want to know when he went from being a millionaire to a billionaire? When he looked the people in the eye and said, is it real? No. No, it's not. Is it scripted? Yes. Yes, it is. But do these guys go out here and give everything they've got and put their bodies on the line to entertain you? Yes, they do. Like that. Went to being from being a millionaire to a billionaire. So I do have to include Vince McMahon in that as well. Somebody dropped in Michael P.S. Hayes for everything he does with the talent and getting them ready and everything. Darkside says Stone Cold has a positive win-loss ratio under his belt. While he might not have won as many championships as many of them, but he was still there even after many injuries, still passing out stunners and helping behind the scenes. You know, it's a valid point. Stone Cold did do a lot. Of course, Undertaker's in the conversation anyway. I don't know if I'd put him in the top 5, but he's in the conversation just for being the ring general that he is. How many different people has he put over and helped make a big star? Aaron Marie saying everyone used to say Daniel Bryan was the GOAT. Cena, Taker, Steve Austin, Hardy Boys, Warrior, Macho Man, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H. Like they're in the conversation for sure. I've got some of those on my list as well. I think. See, who have I not talked about? Hogan, Stone Cold, The Rock. I think The Rock can be in the conversation. However, I don't know that I would call him a GOAT. Like, he was the GOAT of the Attitude Era. Got no problem saying that. But in the big scheme of things, I don't know that I could call him the GOAT. And I want to give the answer that I think may have been the best, most thought out answer I've been given tonight. And that came from Mama Guapo, believe it or not. I asked her, who is the GOAT of professional wrestling? She says, there's not one. I said, excuse me? She says, no, there's not one. There's not a GOAT. There's not a greatest of all time. Why is there not a greatest of all time? Because this is a character and story-driven profession. So every character has a time and a place that they are where they need to be. And how many times have we discussed this person went way too long with your Ric Flairs, your Hulk Hogan's, things like that? How many times have we thrown those kind of things out there? So everybody has their own time and their own place for their stories. So to say that there's one person that's GOAT over all of those times is an impossible answer. And that may have been the most thought out answer I've received tonight. So kudos to Mama Guapo for that. J-Reb saying, this is a great question because the term GOAT could lend itself to anyone in the industry. It could. It really could. Agreed. Perfectly said, Mama Guapo. I'll let her know you said that. Houston saying HBK. I need a reason for HBK. And talking about Dark Side, talking about Houston, if you guys get a chance, go check them out. Texan Tag Team Podcast. These guys are awesome. On a Tuesday night, I was actually on there last night with Leah XL, but on a Tuesday night, not only do you get Reese, Dark Side, not only do you get Houston, but you also get Kelsey. It's just a great time. Turnbuckle Tuesdays, we talk all about wrestling. They talk about the sports ball on the Wednesdays. So for this last week, this week, and next week, we're kind of going head to head with them. No problems there, just, nightmare and stuff. So make sure you check out Texan Tag Team Podcast, and you make sure you let Kelsey know I did mention her as well, because I don't want her to beat me up. Because she could do it. I'm just throwing that out there. When talking about the GOAT, I love asking you guys this question because there are so many different places, so many ways, so many decisions you can make on who is the GOAT here. And I've enjoyed all the answers. We will be having Wrestling Talk Wednesday again next Wednesday, along with the podcast. So be looking for that. But for now, it's time to get into everybody's favorite segment of the night. It's time for Notes from the Clown Show. Sting is back from the dead. Didn't he disappear and he was gone and he floated off into the breeze and never to be heard from again? No, he is back, which was a cool pop. I'm not calling that clowny. But tell me this. When you have a match, an I Quit match, between Jon Moxley, who loves to bleed, and Darby Allin, who is bound and determined to kill himself in the ring. I firmly believe that is his goal, is I'm going to go out in the middle of the ring doing something stupid. You have all the hardcore aspects of an I Quit match. And you bring Sting back. And you have him kind of choke out Moxley a little bit and then throw Darby Allin his bat after he breaks an aquarium in the middle of the ring. And then all this craziness you could do with that. How do you end the match? You have Jon Moxley tap quite quickly, I might add, tap out and quit to a Scorpion Deathlock. Not from Sting, mind you, but from Darby Allin. I don't understand it. I don't understand it in the least. You have two of the most hardcore people. That's like putting, granted this is back in the day, but this is like putting Mick Foley and Terry Funk in a ring and giving the barbed wire ropes, all the things that they used to do, and have one of them go out to a headlock. How are you? I don't understand the ending to this match. And a lot of people are quite pissed about it. saying for something that should have been so great, this was such a flat ending to a main event. And anytime you get flat ending, anytime you get a flat ending with a match where Sting is involved, there is a problem there. Number next thing. How many belts are you going to put on Mercedes Moné? You know, when she came out and had 3 belts, 4 belts, okay, yeah, I get it. Okay, we're doing the multi-belt thing. 11. She won her 11th title. She has 11 belts. 11. And she can't wrestle. Like, I don't know what we're doing here. I don't understand why we want to put that many belts on her. And I'm never going to understand it. The only answer I could have is that Tony Khan is in fact a clown. That is why that happened. And last thing, we had the chance for some really, really good matches in the form of Chris Statlander versus Tony Storm and Kyle Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe. These could have been good matches. Yeah, I said it. I said it out loud that these could have been good matches on the clown show. But they did clown show shit. And they did not build either one of these matches, so they fell flat. They could have built this up to be absolutely great, but they're like, I honestly feel like Dave Meltzer and Tony Khan are sitting in a room going, I want to do this match. When do you want to do it? Tomorrow. Like, I feel like that's how booking goes at AEW, and I don't understand it. I really don't. But the only explanation I can give is, in fact, that Tony Khan, you are a clown, and AEW is the clown show. That is going to do it for Notes from the Clown Show. Honestly, that's probably going to do it for the podcast tonight. I don't have a whole lot more because things have been crazy. I have enjoyed the opportunity to get out here and talk to you guys, though. I love so much this is my you guys are my therapy every night, every week that I get to do this. So I love you guys. Thank you for being that. We do have some shows coming up. We have BCW Draw the Line coming up November 8th, Levelland, Texas, TMW Event Center. That's going to be a good one. We have match graphics coming out for that this week. We've got, I don't remember the name of the show. I think it's Break the Silence. It's another BCW show, Plainview, Texas. That's going to be a great one as well. It's a benefit show for suicide awareness and prevention. So if you get a chance to go to that one, it's a great show for a great cause. Then, of course, we have on November 22nd, the last show of the year for Squared Circle Pro and Pieces for Quitters. Been some talk about that, about me and Rick Elzy, and I've said everything I have to say about Rick, and he did. Was actually on the Texan Tag Team podcast last night, and Rick pops in and does his usual, I'm Rick Elzy, and I do what I want to, his usual shtick, and I just, as much as he's been against it, I said it last night, I'll say it again tonight. He comes in, somebody says something, whether they say something nice about him or they say something not nice about him, he comes in, he bitches about all of it. He, to me, is no better than the internet wrestling community. I said it. I mean it. It is what it is. I will be at all 3 of these shows. As much as the LZ administration has decided they don't want me at Pieces for Quitters, I am going to be there. I'm going to be in the middle of the ring. I'm going to have a microphone in my hand because I am the ring announcer and I'm going to ring announce. That is what it is. That's what I do. See, J-Reb understands. He's become what he hates. As far as podcast and our Discord stuff, watch-alongs, all that, won't be having a watch-along for SmackDown tomorrow night on Friday night because I have Nightmare. If that isn't, I say that if one of our other viewers wants to do the stream, I believe it was Aaron did the stream Monday night, and I appreciate that. That was awesome of you to do. I wasn't able to be there. If somebody else wants to do the stream for Friday night, we'll have the watch along there. If not, then there won't be a watch along. There will be Monday night though, as we do Monday Night Raw, and then we will be back here Wednesday night for the podcast and your Wrestling Talk Wednesday answers. Again, I want to thank everybody that watches live, everybody that's talking in the chat, everybody that joins us each week. I love you guys. You guys give me a place to talk wrestling with some people that I know enjoy wrestling, and it means the world to me. Until then, I almost forgot to say, if you're in the Lubbock area, Nightmare on 19th, come see me. We have all the funds. Until Monday night, I am Guapo. This was John Cena. You see what I did there because you can't see him. I'll see you guys next time. Yeah.
I'm